afternoon, investors and corporates. Welcome to Digital Roadshow third quarter of 2022 performance review. The session will run about 45 minutes, including Q&A. Company will start the session by 30-minute presentation, followed by 15-minute Q&A. During Q&A, investor may leave your questions in meeting room chat box or use raise your hand function. We will open your microphone so you can ask the question to the company directly. May I now invite PTT Global Chemical Public Company Limited to start the presentation.
Thank you, and good afternoon to the investors joining our call today. For today, we will be covering on the strategic direction and execution of the company. And also, as we just announced our third quarter result, so we'll be going through that as well. So maybe before going into the third quarter result, we'll just start on the update about our strategic direction and the execution. So if we go to the second part of the presentation, on the first page here, we'll just show you how the company has been preparing and also our actions that we have taken during the situation that we are in at the moment, where we're finding a challenging economic situation, both from the macroeconomic perspective and also for our industry itself in the petrochemical industry, where we have challenges in the industry itself as well. But for us, we have been preparing since the early of the year, where the situation of the conflict in Russia and Ukraine started. We already developed the internal playbook where we can use that in during the recession session, how we're gonna react to that and how we're gonna take action for that. So as you can see on this page, we have 4 key areas that we look at. The first one on our production and sales. So we obviously have a stronger position because we're able to use ethane as our feedstock, so that give us advantage over our peers who are using naphtha as the feedstock. But besides that, we still try to maintain our operating rate both for the refinery itself and also for the petrochemical, for olefins and polymer. And besides that, we're also working closely with the customer and managing our product portfolio, trying to capture the high value product portion so that we're able to continue to capture the higher margin from those products. And besides that, we also look at our feedstock management as well. So trying to use the lower cost feedstock both for the petrochemical and the petroleum products. Secondly, for the saving and cost, we're looking at how to minimize our costs, both the OPEX and the CAPEX. So we already started the policy on OPEX cut, which we think can save us around 3 to 3.5 billion Thai baht. And for the CAPEX, we have tried to cut out the non-necessary item and only maintain, the CAPEX that we need. So at this moment for this year, we actually already completed many growth CAPEX spending. So going forward into the next year, we don't expect to see much CAPEX spending requirement. So that will have less burden on our cash flow. And lastly, we also have the project that we call Project Max, which is the enhancement on our business. So for that, we look at various areas in our business, trying to find more efficiency and more productivity. So that help us about 4 billion Thai baht as well. On the third area that we look at is enhancing our business portfolio. So trying to invest more in higher return business and also how to manage the non-core part of the business as well. So most recently, we completed the expansion into PVC business, which is the amalgamation of Vinythai with Asahi Glass Chemical, and the new company has already been formed called AVT. So that was already completed in July. And the last part, which is focusing on our financial position and our liquidity sufficiency. And we think we have quite strong position to endure and counter in this unfavorable period. And from the liquidity perspective, we already just completed the funding, the loan, signing of a new loan agreement with the commercial bank. The total amount is about 27 billion Thai baht. So this amount will have to support our liquidity requirement, and we don't see any issue on that. And besides that, we look at managing our funding borrowing portfolio as well, trying to lengthen our average loan life so that we don't have much repayment due during the next 1, 2, or 3 years. So now our average loan life has already been is now up to around 8 to 9 years. So we think that's quite a smooth profile, and there's no heavy burden in the near term. And besides that, we also look at how to save in terms of the interest cost and also the FX fluctuation as well. So we have implemented various instruments like the treasury lock that help us to lock into the long-term borrowing rate. And also for the FX, we also enter into derivatives that help us to balance between our FX exposure and our business to be well balanced as well. So next, just a quick recap on our long-term strategy. So on the short term, as I just mentioned in the previous page, we will have quite many activities that we have done. But for the long term, we'll continue to focus on our strategic direction, which is the 3-step plus. There's 3 elements. The first one is step change, which we focus on enhancing the competitiveness of our existing business. The second one is called step out, where we try to grow into new area of business. And that includes the low carbon business and the high value business. The most recent example is that we acquire Alnex, right, which is the leading producer of industrial coating resin. So they help us to expand our contribution from the performance chemical up to around 20%. And our long-term target is that we will try to grow that up to around 35% in the year 2030. The third element is what we call step up. This one we focus on the sustainability aspect, which is we execute the sustainability, and we set the target for net zero by the year 2050, and we already integrate that into our long-term action plan. And lastly, on the transformation, we'll look at how to enhance the efficiency and make our organization leaner and become more digitalized. On the next page, just a recap on how we try to expand more into the downstream and also how to make those products become more valuable and more higher margin. So on this page, you will see some example of how we've done that. The PVC expansion that I mentioned, and PP expansion, polypropylene as well, where our JV company is trying to grow more of their capacity. And beside that, we try to grow more of the higher value product into our portfolio. So you can see that this is something that we've been growing over the past few years, and we try to grow more in the future. In 2017, we had about 22% contribution from high value product. By the year 2030, we'll grow that up to 56%. And this is coming from working with customer, trying to understand their product requirement and develop a new solution for them, which will help us to have not only higher margin product, but also a longer lasting relationship with our customer as well. Next page is on the aspect of bio and circularity. This is another area of growth and area of focus for us, because we think that this will obviously help our product portfolio to be ready for the long-term consciousness to becoming more eco-friendly. So we focus both on the bio-based and on the recycled plastic as well. So both of these elements will complement each other, and we think will help us to have the platform that meet the requirement for the consumer in the future. So we have the long-term target in the year 2025. We will have 1 million ton of bio-based product and 75,000 ton of recycling capacity. In terms of bio-based, we already leading position in this segment. We have bioplastic, the two leading kind, the first one called PLA and the second one called PBS. So we already have established position there, and we continue to grow. As you can see in the page here, our JV company called NatureWork, they are currently building a second plant, which is expected to be complete in the year 2024. For the recycled plastic, a company called Envigo, which we hold about 70%, they just started operation in the third quarter. So this is the first recycled plant that we have, and it will be able to produce the food grade PET and polyethylene, recycled polyethylene. Next business unit is another one of area of focus for us, which is performance chemical. This one mainly related to our investment in Alnex, as I mentioned. So we invested in Alnex at the end of last year, and so far this year we have been working with them in terms of the integration and trying to find areas of synergy. So we think that we can help them to grow in the area of their focus, which include growing in high growth market like China and continuing to grow in the US as well. And we also have a strong footprint here in Asia, so we think we can support them for them to grow further in this high growth market. So that's why we have quite a confident target that our next should be able to grow the EBITDA up by 1.5 times by the year 2026. And this will come through our next strength itself, coming from our support and also working within the GC group of company. As you can see, our next is also working with Vencorex, which is another one of our company, which both of them, they operate in the coating and adhesive platform. So we think both of these companies can help us to develop the strong platform in this area. Okay, so this just to give a recap on our highlight for the next year, what we see will be adding to our portfolio. So I mentioned that at the moment we have new investment that are about to fully start operate around end of this year and next year, right? So this will be coming to the end of the capex requirement, and we expect to be able to start to reap the reward from this investment. So here on this page, you will see that our new project will be focusing on first one on the enhancing the competitiveness of the feedstock, the feedstock flexibility that our plant can take in the upstream and the intermediate. So the project that we have that we call OMP, this one will be focusing on our olefin cracker and how we can modify that cracker to be able to take in a more wide range of feedstock, such as propane and LPG as well. So which will be more flexibility for us to take advantage of the market situation. The second one, the polymers and chemical. This I already mentioned, the PVC and PP expansion. The third one, bio and circularity. As I mentioned, our Envigo recycle plastic plant will fully operate next year. And lastly, for the performance chemical, we will have a super engineering plastic plant in another company called KGC. So they will be producing the product called HSPC and PA90, which product that can go into many high growth and use segment like automotive, electronic and appliance and construction as well. So this will help add to the performance chemicals. So these are all the key project coming up. So next, we'll move into the summary of the third quarter result.
For the financial result of the third quarter of 2022, at the top left, you can see that our revenue in the third quarter reported at around 181 billion Thai baht, which is around 8% decline quarter on quarter, and that was mainly impacted by the global concerns on the economic recessions and impact of the COVID lockdown in China. So if you look at the top right, you can see the adjusted EBITDA declined by 50% quarter on quarter, and that was impacted by the main factors that I already mentioned about the COVID-19 lockdown in China and concerns on economy. So if you look at the bottom right, that was the adjusted EBITDA contribution in the third quarter for the 9 months of this year. So the adjusted EBITDA contribution will be mainly derived from the upstream business, around 34% in the third quarter, which we have a very strong performance of refinery business. We had a very strong GRM at around $9.8 per barrel. And for performance chemical contribution stood at around 23% in this quarter. So mainly we derive from the earnings for this quarter. And at the bottom left, you can see that we had the operating profit at around 800 billion Thai baht. And if you look at the net income, it will be like negative of 13 billion Thai baht. So even we have the positive EBITDA during the quarter, but there were some items, non-operating items, for example, the stock loss, hedging loss, and the FX loss during the quarter. So that made us to get the negative result in the quarter. So for the next page, this page will be the detail of our income statements. So as I mentioned, that there are several non-operating items. For example, the stock loss during the quarter at around 8 billion Thai baht, and the commodity hedging loss at around 2 billion Thai baht. So for the stock loss, that was due to the declining of the crude oil price during the quarter, and for the commodity hedging loss, that was due to we still have some positioning of the hedging volumes during the quarter that we remarked the hedge price at the beginning of this year. So there's still some minor loss during the quarter. And for the FX loss in slide 18, so FX loss occurred from the Thai baht weakening during the quarter. So that's why we have the FX loss at around 3.2 billion Thai baht. So for the next page will be about our balance sheet. At the end of the third quarter, we have total assets of around 742 billion Thai baht. So if you look at the key items of the cash and cash equivalent, if you compare with the end of last year, so the amount of our cash declined from around 75 billion Thai baht to 37 billion Thai baht. So that was due to we had the US dollar bond expired during the quarter in September. So we already repaid to the bond holders in the third quarter. So that's why our cash declined to around 37 billion Thai baht at the end of the third quarter. And if you look at the key financial ratio at the bottom left, our net interest bearing debt to equity stood at around 0.7 times, which is kind of acceptable level. And if you look at the net IB to EBITDA, that is quite high at around 7 times. But as I mentioned, that if you exclude the item like the stock loss, the impact from the hedging, so the net IB per adjusted EBITDA will be declined to around level of 4.5 times. So we have the target to deleverage this level to be around 3 to 4 times in the next several years. So at the top right, you can see our long-term debt portfolios. So at the end of the third quarter, if you look at the interest breakdown, we have a quite well balanced between fixed interest rate and floating interest rate. So the fixed interest rate stood at around 68% of total debt portfolio. So that is because we already locked the interest rate before the rate hiking during the year. And on the right-hand side, the currency breakdown between US dollar and Thai baht is quite well balanced, 50%. So our average loan life stood at around 8.6 years at the end of third quarter, and average cost of debt stood at around 3.2%. So we continue to maintain the strong credit rating to be within the investment grade. And next will be the ESG implementation that GC already announced that we are going toward the net zero target within 2050. So we will stick with our three pillars to transition our operation to be the net zero company within 2050. The first one is the efficiency driven, which is the maximizing efficiency across our current asset. We are trying to implement the new technology to use renewable energy to reduce the CO2 that's being released from our operation assets right now. So that will be implemented along the way to 2050. The second pillar is the portfolio driven. So this is the way that we are looking forward to grow into the low carbon business, which you can see at the end of last year that the acquisition of Onyx is one of the actions that we are going toward the low carbon business. And the third one is the compensation driven. So this is the method that we are trying to make our CO2 to be at net zero within 2050. And that will be done by the new way, like for example, the CCUS carbon capture storage and other kind of technical based solution like nature based solutions and other carbon credit purchase in the future. So together with these three pillars, we will help us to get into the net zero target within 2050.
The session has come to the end. We highly appreciate investor and corporate for joining the conference. If you do need further details, please feel free to drop us an email. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณนะครับ